Hello, everyone. This is Yousef, your co-moderator for today's event, and I will be answering all of your questions regarding the event, the technology from all of our viewers. So let's get right into it. A question from Casey from YouTube for Murray. Murray, can you come on stage, please? Hello. You're muted. You're muted.
How about now?
Yeah, perfect. I can hear you. So a question from Casey.
Great.
When it comes to the metaphor
Yeah.
of the weight of the backpack, is that a common thing within a community of life coaches?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure if it's common, but I will say I hope that it is, and not just for life coaches, but for facilitators, teachers, anyone that comes in contact with people. We don't know what people are carrying. We don't know the road that they're crossing. We don't know the things that's heavy on them. So if we're not conscious and careful with how we come across people, we may not know what they're carrying in their backpacks. So it causes us to carry empathy and compassion and sensitivity. So if it's not common in the life coaching community, it should be. So that's a very good point, Casey. But I think I'm gonna put that in my pocket, in my backpack now, and I'm gonna say that more often, and hopefully other people will be more concerned about that, especially as it relates to the topic of social emotional learning, that we will be more cautious about what people come into the classroom with. You just never know.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Yeah, hopefully this package will be able to, we'll be able to get rid of such package, whether it's emotional or physical, because we don't want to get tired.
Yes.
Another question from Sarah from LinkedIn. What's the biggest risk of not including robust systems in the personalized learning journey?
Would you mind repeating that? I didn't catch that.
Oh, sure. What's the biggest risk of not including robust systems in the personalized learning?
Oh, God. I would say the biggest risk is you may overlook someone's state of mind by judgment. That's the biggest risk. You can have hurt people go through life and still carry something that their teacher said to them when they were 9 years old, and be crippled for the rest of their lives. They feel inadequate. They go into jobs that way. They go into relationships that way. And I think the very critical thing is to be cautious when you're interacting with people, because people are people at the end of the day. And sometimes in our positions and our titles, we can get so caught up with being judging someone by their front cover of the book that you can miss it. So that's very critical, to be cautious on how you handle people. Period. I don't think it's an age related. I think sometimes, especially when it comes down to children, they can be so overlooked because of their age, but those seeds are planted so young that adults grow up with that. So I think if we could start early, that's the critical part.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's move on to another question. There's another question from Casey for Cunningham, Shawn Cunningham.
I was going to say I'd love to chime in on that follow-up comment. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, yes.
Yes, I totally agree with what Samantha just said. I'm so glad in this day and age, in this time, in this period, we're talking about the impact and having the discussion about mental health, for instance, for people across all ages. I think it's really important that we continue to hit the message of it's okay to not be okay, and the impact that mental health and all of the trauma that we carry from our experiences, how that impacts, our path towards success. There are a lot of people, in my talk, I talked about not being afraid of failure, but you'd be amazed how many people are actually afraid of success. And that's because they can't handle the weight of success, and they're not dealing with what issues or what traumas they've had throughout the course of their life. And they're consistently trying to prove something to the inner child that was hurt within them, or to try to make peace with whatever trauma happened to them. They're using these, they're kind of collecting accolades. They're adding things to their resume, but they're not really feeling it. They're not really feeling like they've made peace with who they are. The reality is that you were someone well before all of these traumas have happened to you, and traumas can't really don't let the trauma kind of define who you are. You are someone because you are, I'm a very faith-based person, so I hope it's okay. You are a child of God, or whatever your belief system is. You are worthy already because you were given breath and depth of life. I love the saying where they say, I love to hear a resume and your accolades. Those things aren't going to be read at your funeral. It's about the people who show up and the experiences and the impact that you've had on other people that defines how you've lived your life. But there are so many people in our world today who are afraid of success, and they're trying to add all of these accolades to make, and all of these degrees and things like that, but they're not really having a human connection, and are making positive connections, not just with other people or with, their families or the people who are most important in their life. They're not connecting with themselves. So I think it's really important that we continue to have the discussion about the role that mental health plays, so that making sure that people are feeling whole, and that they have those resources available to make peace with whatever traumas that they have, so that they can really become the best version of themselves, not just for our communities and for the people that we engage with, but for the relationships we have with ourselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. The emotional or the mental side is very important, even more important than the knowledge side in any learning journey. Well said. Another question for Dr. Joan. Yeah. Good.
Hi, I just want to. Hi, yeah, hi. I just wanted to chime in on both Miss Murray and Miss Cunningham's response to the question, and it goes back to what I said earlier. It's like those two things have to come from being able to manage change. I mean, that's one thing I've learned over the years, is that we just aren't taught how to manage change. And our reaction, as the two ladies have said earlier, whether it be mental, social, emotional, if we as adults can't manage the change, we can't expect our children to manage change, or our colleagues to manage change. So at some point in our journey, we have to be able to understand that change is going to happen. We have to manage the change, and we have to adapt to the change. And whatever skills, be it through mentoring, through the technology that we've all talked about here, and even trying to do, even being able to say, I'm not okay, is a change process. So until we as adults understand that it's okay, things are going to change, and don't freak out about it, it's going to happen. And then we're comfortable with that, we're going to find ourselves in these kind of positions. So that's just my take.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid take, actually. We do appreciate these wise words. Another question for you, Joan, while you're still on stage, Dr. Joan, from Mike from LinkedIn. What's the single biggest barrier to scaling personalized learning today?
And for me, I think it is capacity. Some areas are just not able to grow and spread with the capacity. The need may be greater than it can support. You may have a lot of young mentees who need, seasoned mentors, but you may have some mentors that just aren't ready to meet with that younger person. There is such a thing as, generational gaps. So having that generational gap impact the learning of the new mentee may be a problem. So I just find that the capacity tends to be one of the greatest challenges to spreading out and being able to support an environment.
Yeah, well said. Let's move on to another speaker. Back to you, Cunningham. A question from Casey from YouTube. All right, you're here. So the question is, when next year TikTok will eventually have the US only allowed US version of it, how relevant would it be as a marketing tool when it can be shared worldwide? Like if we want to share it only in the US.
I think it's very relevant. I think any time, first of all, we know the impact that social platforms like TikTok have already, and just I mean, I'm thinking just in the past 2 years, the conversations that we've had regarding this particular social media platform, you know, in politics, when we've had congressional leaders and congressional hearings, and we've had some of our political leaders discussing the relevance of TikTok and what it could potentially mean for the users and accessibility and potential banning, that in itself puts it on a higher level. I mean, when you're having those discussions on Capitol Hill. So I understand, you know, we want to look in the looking glass and have an understanding of how relevant it could be down the road, whether it's accessible just on a U.S. Forefront or abroad. I think it's important to engage and still learn how to master it and use it, because even if it's just, you know, only accessible within the U.S. for a certain time frame, that could all change. That could all evolve. And I think it's important for us, whatever the platform is, to have some type of an idea of how to use it, how to master it, of its relevance and importance as far as social engagement, and learning how to use it. No one can take your education away, even whether a platform is accessible or not. Being able to know how to operate it, how to function it, how to use it, and how to leverage it is still important. And it's still an important education to have, because accessibility may be the way that it is right now, but that can evolve, and it can evolve again. The one thing we learn about a lot of these technological platforms and aspects and tools and things like that is that they're consistently evolving. Every time you learn about one, there's always a new one on the horizon that we need to kind of embrace or be on the lookout for. So the reality is, you still have to open yourself up to being, like Dr. Joan just said, adaptable to these new ideas and to these new synergy changing platforms, because you don't know what the next new thing is. And if you don't have an idea of how any of it works, then you're already out of the game.
Yeah, you should master the game before you can play it. Yeah. Yeah. All right, moving on to another question for Anthony. Anthony, can you come on stage, please? Hello. So you talked about the AI and how it can help you to be able to think better and to think faster and be able to master some skills. We have a question from Alex from LinkedIn regarding this. How can the human-like companions be used to challenge a learner's thinking?
Well, I think it's collecting data and looking for patterns in your skills, and I think that's one part of it, that it can find things that maybe you wouldn't think of. It's like another independent source of information, and I think it all has to be balanced, because I talked about what technology was, after I started college. It was all like face to face. It wasn't like it is now. You can probably get through a day if you wanted without actually talking to someone face to face, texting, email, all that. And I think the human, what's being lost, and this is not just with work, it's with social life and everything, that human connection is being lost a little bit. So I think that's important too, to find that balance and be able to that nothing replaces in that face-to-face also, and what you can learn. And especially if you have a coach or someone for peer support or a mentor, that you're going to be helpful. Yes, it's good that you can connect with someone that's you can't see nearby or is in a different industry or something. But at some point, I think it's useful to meet and talk face to face to have a better connection and balance that with the automated tools that are out there.
Yeah, these are some wise words. Thank you so much, Mr. Tony. Our next question is for Saratin. It's from Larry from YouTube. So, Saratin, what is the most effective way to identify hidden career path and pursue it?
Sorry, can you repeat that again, please?
What is the most effective way or the most effective tool to identify hidden career paths?
Okay, hidden career path, I think you could actually identify that from what you actually love. There's been a lot of tools that you can actually use to check your personality trait. That helps a lot. It's a great advantage that you are doing something that you love, and at the same time you're also getting paid. So if you have a hidden career, which can also be stemmed to your personality, that could actually help you. Take for instance, if you take a personality test and you're able to identify that you're someone who is very good hands-on, you want to pick up a career in a technical area because it gives you a lot of opportunity to do a lot of hands-on if you're going for IT or engineering and all of that. And if you also did a personality test, discover that you're someone who is very creative, someone who want to explore and all of that. You also want to go into career that has to do with maybe hospitality, things that you have to be social media and all of that. You're also someone who is a personality trait, identify that you're someone who is very used to organizing, relating with people, just people oriented. You also want to be someone who is a presenter, someone who is a counselor and all of that, and you can always pick up your career. So for every hidden potential that you have within yourself, you can actually convey that by taking up a personality test just to identify the areas where you have the strength and some of your weaknesses. So you want to emphasize on where you have the strength and kind of develop on that. You can go to the labor bureau to check some of the career, the industries, and start developing. Like I talked about in my presentation, that there are so many platforms where you can actually learn. Today, YouTube is one of them. We have so many platforms where you could actually gain hands-on experience, and you can also be part of a mentorship or even internship program just to prove a point to other person that you have, just to validate some of the skills that you've learned or what you've been able to identify that you're good at, and you progress in that career. And while you're progressing, you should also be flexible. You don't need to be rigid. You can also take up some other things along the journey to kind of get yourself better. Which I talked about, technology can actually give you that leverage. You don't need to go and take 2 years of a class and all of that. You can usually use technology to try to test, do some shadowing on some career. If you're good at it, you can continue in that. So I don't know if that answered the question.
Well, actually, Cunningham also wants to answer that question. Can you get her on stage, please?
Great.
Hi there. Yes, I'd love to chime in because that's actually what happened to me. Following on what Asaratin said, I would say take a self analysis of yourself. Take the time to kind of write down the list, do the 2 columns of and find out what you're passionate about and what your energy kind of lends itself toward. Because we spend a lot of time on our careers, right? So ideally, you should be doing something that you're passionate about and that you love doing. There is a difference between a job and a career. A job, a lot of us do that. We're holding down the job because we're trying to, to pay our bills and get things done and accomplished. But a career is really something about it's an evocation. It's something that you're passionate about, you're energetic about, you've been educated toward, and you're spending a lot of time on. Do the list and kind of write down the traits of what you're passionate about, not just something that you want to succeed in monetarily, but something that really inspires you and ignites that fire within you. If you love public speaking, if you're passionate about technology or IT, if you want to become an entrepreneur, if you have a really great idea for a product or or if you don't have the skill set for that, or whatever the list is, the things that you need to check off to accomplish doing that, then talk to a career coach. Sarden is right. Go on YouTube. There are lots of people out there who are trained and who their passion is in helping you find your passion. Get a career coach and have get in touch with someone who can help you get on that that path. And if you need a skill set and education for it, he's right. You don't just the school of learning has expanded it so much with technology. YouTube is probably one of the biggest schools of learning out there for anything that you want to learn. But also you can do things virtually. You can do things online. There are a lot of traditional universities and colleges out there that are offering an opportunity for you to learn at your own time and pace, and get get those colleges and degrees and also certificates. There's so many ways for you to become the best version of yourself with a career. But the one thing you need to do is you need to start now. Don't put it off. Don't say, you know what, I've always thought about doing this or dreamt about doing this, but that's not for me. I'm not that kind of person. No, if there is a reason why you're consistently thinking about it, pondering it, dreaming about it, or it keeps kind of showing up in some area of your life, those are usually red signs and glaring signs that you might need to kind of pivot and try and do what you were always meant to do. Start today. Even if you're just take the dollar class like we're doing. This is a school of learning, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah.
This is a big school of learning. Maybe you're watching this and you're learning from us. Maybe because today is the day where you're supposed to, as soon as this workshop is over, try out and go out and apply and do something new. So let this be your impetus for you to change your life.
Okay.
Yeah, these are some wise words. Thank you very much, Mrs. John. Also, Joan wants to add to the topic. Hello.
I'm just gonna piggyback on what Miss Shawn said, because it's very clear in today's economy, you don't need a college degree. And if you know how to manage your passion, let me say, if you're really not quite sure, I would say take a Myers-Briggs personality test. There are tons of different kinds of interest inventories that tell you about the kinds of careers you have by your personality. One is called ONET, and it really goes through 150 questions. And at the end, you get a big assessment of as to what you like and what's really not what you like. And it gives you some other opportunities. But I would say right now, given the market, given where we are in today's economy, go do a certification. There are tons of certifications, and even as Ms. Shawn said, this particular organization, ADollarClass, you can get a tech certification, a business certification, whatever. You don't need to decide, oh, I need a full-fledged degree to be reputable. As long as you have the skills, the paper that says I have those skills, you can set yourself up for fantastic life experiences.
Yeah, university is very expensive these days. Yeah. Well, Samantha also wants to chime in. Yeah, well, Larry, you have a fantastic question. So, Samantha, you wanted to add something.
I just wanted to add up a bit of encouragement as it pertains to moving forward and taking that initiative to take that action, or whatever journey that you decide to take. It's two wins, WHEN, and then it's WIN. Win is not a date, it's a decision. And then when you make that decision, you get that WIN. And that WIN could look different for everyone differently. Your WIN could be that moment when your decision gives you peace. That WIN moment could that be the sense of accomplishment. The WIN moment could be that very thing that you always wanted to do, but you were always waiting for the perfect time. Well, I hope today, after this session, gives you that win, that gives you that accomplishment to even take the step forward. Get out of your own mind, whatever hurdles is keeping you from taking the moment, looking for when the right moment. WHN, your one, your WIN is waiting for you to take the win moment. And just wanted to encourage you with that.
Yeah, these are some encouragement. Yeah. Let's move on to another question now, shall we? So, a question for Okay, it's a question from Olu Florenzo from YouTube for Joan, Dr. Joan.
Yes.
Oh, so the question is, how do we face the change with our eyes open or closed?
Uh, well, sometimes it's hard to determine which is best, depending on the situation. I would hope that if you're going to face change, that it comes from one's own personal awareness. What is exactly how you feel? I think Miss Murray actually talked about you've got to know and recognize who you are. What are you feeling? What is your emotional stability when it comes to this change? And that's the eyes wide open part, because once we can internalize how we're adapting to that change or what that change makes us feel, then we can move on to how to solve that problem or to attack that process of change. So I would say with that concept of understanding that eyes wide open aspect is most important so that you can recognize it, understand how you're going to process it, and how you're going to move forward with it, because that's the success that you're going to have.
Yeah, thank you very much. Another question from Olu Florenzo, but for Samantha. So the question is, how can we make people feel better? Since you mentioned that you want to make people feel the words or feel what we want to make them feel. How can we make them feel better?
One of the things I like to say is your words create worlds. And the word that you want to create is the words that come out of your mouth. And we create worlds with people that we interact with all the time by just opening up. One of my favorite, I'm a woman of faith, is life and death is in the power of your tongue. You make people feel good, not necessarily by the things that you do, but sometimes it's just a word that you can actually say to someone. As it relates to the topic that I was introduced to and had to talk about today, when it comes down to that social and emotional learning, that teacher that could just see you and say, wow, you look great today. You're bright. You're shining. There's something about you. You're going to do great things, just speaking life into that person, speaking on that emotional level. So yes, that's the part that when you want someone to feel, you can feel someone without them not physically touching you. A feeling is basically someone connecting. And when that connection is there, that lets someone know that yes, I'm being seen, I am being felt, I am being heard.
Yeah, these are some words that will make my day actually. So yeah.
Yeah.
A question from Induridi from YouTube for Usaritan. So Usaritan, Induridi is asking if I'm having a total career change in my late 30s without having much work experience in a specific field. How can I fast track my career learning span in a short time?
All right, I have a good news for you. The good news is that AI can actually help you to fast track that. And so if you're able to use the AI tools, we have ChatGPT, you could actually get some experience. And because ChatGPT can actually give you a lot of eye opener to so many things that you want to do, but at the same time, industry want to see that you actually work with a real company. So you could actually take up internship, you could volunteer for organizations, you could be a partner to organizations just to have that experience to see how things work in the industry. And that helps you to fast track. And so if you're thinking you're already having an adrenaline rush that I'm in my 30s, I don't know the career I'm into, I want to make an adjustment and all of that, what I'm going to say to you, calm down. Technology is going to help you out. It's just for you to identify that, okay, I have a need. What's the need? I need to make an adjustment. Every person who have grown in their career made some adjustment. It may be a huge adjustment, maybe a very negligible adjustment. So you can actually do that. So you can go for an internship, volunteer, partner with other persons, collaborate, offer like services, being in events where people are doing some certain things just to get in touch with other persons. Because like one of our speakers talked about, so many persons are open to training you without even getting paid. As far as you have that humility, that's something else I also want to emphasize on. In trying to fast track, you have to also know that you need to come humble. You cannot make an adjustment and feel that you know it all. You must identify that, okay, I need to learn from someone. It could be someone who you are older than. It could be someone who have more that you have more experience. But as far as you are adjusting, you're making an adjustment to a different niche, a different career. There's someone is very good at it. Someone who have been in that area for years. So you have to calm down and say to yourself that, okay, I need to learn from this person. And every task you're being given by that person, try to get it done. Don't procrastinate. Don't say that, okay, I'm going to get it done some other time, because those things are going to motivate the person to keep on mentoring and all of that. So there's a whole lot of things you can actually do. But like I said, we have a good news. So AI is going to help you out to fast track that.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Certain. Also, Shawn wanted to add an answer to that question.
And yes, definitely. I think that's something we've not even discussed yet, and that could be a whole workshop on itself. It's something that I consistently kind of promote this idea. I call it the business of success, and talking about how service and community service and volunteerism there is a correlation between people who are actively engaged in service and their success. I think when you're looking for an opportunity, and it's not always about getting paid, because ultimately sometimes the biggest payment is the education and the pearls of wisdom that we're learning from an experience. But service opportunities throughout your community, look for a service opportunity if you want to get into a certain career path. It's not a coincidence when you talk about CEOs and boards of directors and people who are in these high level positions, how they're also, part of various boards. They're part of service groups like Rotary, Kiwanis, the Junior League, or I guess the JCs, all these types of various, or Lions clubs, Elks. There's just so many organizations out there that the members of those organizations are high level executives or people who are really making a strong career path in whatever their chosen endeavor is. That's not a coincidence. It's because they recognize that there are translatable skills between participating in service projects and what you can bring to an on the job skill. When you participate in service, I always like to say, when you get back so much more. Especially, probably the biggest would be in education, the things that you learn, and also in self-esteem. You recognize that you can accomplish so much more. You learn about teamwork. You're working with other people on a project. You learn about leading a project, for instance. You learn about what it takes to kind of do that. So many areas of how to get a project from start to the end, and the journey and the path that goes along with it, and bringing a project to fruition. All of those are translatable skills that you can bring to a job situation, to something, on the job, but also, you're also networking, by the way. If you want to, learn from someone or work for their company or work in their particular career path or chosen endeavor, it's a great way to meet people. You're learning about socialization and communication. There's so many skills that you can develop that grow you as a person and as a potential star employee in whatever your career path or your chosen career path is, by service opportunities. Look for a need in your community and try to fill it, or get with another organization or group of people that are filling it. It's a great way to move up. I really, truly believe service does lead to success.
Yeah, definitely the volunteering work and the community service are some great ways to ensure you got the experience and get what it takes. Yeah. Moving on to the next question from Larry from YouTube for Anthony. Anthony, can you come to stage?
Yes.
So, Anthony, Larry is asking, what is the difference between a human-like companion and a basic chatbot like ChatGPT?
I think it's more. I think it's only a slight difference from what I know. It's more how you're interacting with it, maybe the visuals, and I think the chat is more like word based, where it's the other ones. There's a a physical a visual aspect to it also. So, and that's important though to think about because we all think differently, and knowing what your how you think and process information. Some people are more visual. They need a pie chart to see something and really grasp it. As an auditor, and my degrees in accounting, I want to see numbers. I don't trust charts because they can be, you know, uh, biased a little and not represent things really fully that I want to see. So that's something to think about, and um, just how you learn better, and the difference between those two, I think is slight, but it's more, I think, a visual versus like a data information.
Yeah, thank you very much. Another question actually from Brandon from YouTube. Um, with the daily usage of AI tools, will that affect our brain or our critical thinking skills?
I think again, yeah, I think again you have to look for a balance between the use of technology and the human part of it. Um, when again, I'm showing my age, but I was around before um, people really texted more, and it was the flip phones. People didn't do it as much. And I remember once two employees in the audit group I was managing, they sat right next to each other, and I see they're both on the phone at the same time, and it didn't matter, that part that was acceptable. But I said, like I said to one of them, who are you talking to, just to be curious, and he points to the cubicle next to him, and I'm like, you have to be kidding me. Like, just get up and talk to them. So I think there's a balance in it all, and we see that um, with what's happening with social media in general, that people are over relying on it and feeling disconnected and lonely. So it's something to monitor and be self-aware of. What balance is right for you, and maybe it's different for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of AI usage will affect your brain, actually. All right, moving on to another question from Frank from LinkedIn for Samantha. Hello. So the question is,
Hello.
what is the framework that is most crucial for developing the emotional support systems?
I would say the framework that really would be the best way to build up emotional awareness as it pertains to that would be, imagine a house that has no furniture or anything in it, and you wanted to design that house to the best of your ability, but you don't want to come into the house assuming that this goes there and that bedroom goes there. You want to kind of get to know the room before you just throw anything in it. I think that's exactly the framework that we should use. You want to actually get to know, come in common, know the traits, know the habits, know the person, know the environment, get a background, know someone's chapter before you understand their chapter 3. May have met them in chapter 10. Chapter 3 has a lot of story that you know nothing about. And before you begin to sum it up and design things and make assumptions of your own, you're going to have to get to know the room. You're going to have to know how to navigate. You're going to know how to come in contact with them. You're going to know where you want to put the picture frame. How do I come and approach this person? I may not want to say something to them so fast, so soon. They may be someone that can just off the hinge. You have to know the framework of the person. You have to spend time. And I think that was one of the things that one of the speakers spoke about, is we're losing connection human connection. That is fading away. No one wants to spend time. No one wants to interact. No one wants to get to know how you design the house, what goes in the house, what house. No one wants to get to know the personality of a person. They just want to come, just assume, and come in and begin to put people in this kind of box. But I think if you spend time with people, then you will understand. You will have more relatable conversations. We got to get back to that human connection. We fading away from that, and that is being society today in so many different areas.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Samantha, for that. Moving on to another question from Carol the One for Certain.
All right.
All right, so the question is, should a career roadmap be strictly planned or fully agile?
Can you repeat that again, the last one?
Like, should it be strict or fully agile? Like, should it be
Adjustable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a career plan should be adjustable. It shouldn't be rigid. Technology will not allow you to make it rigid. If you are very static with your career, it means you don't have a place in the industry. You have to keep on evolving. You have to keep on making an adjustment. So it's very important for you to make changes. And the best way is for you to keep on learning and unlearning some certain things as regarding your career, because there's always new trend. I think it's part of the reason why there's need for continuous education. Every career you are into, you want to keep on picking up certifications or taking up some training. Like most multinational companies, they require is a requirement in multinational company for you to take trainings regularly, either weekly or monthly. The essence of it is for you to keep on learning some things and learning some things as you progress in your career. So it's very important as someone who wants to advance in his own career to make an adjustment. Your career should be flexible, but that doesn't take away the fact that you remain resolute, remain focused on where you're going. But you can make an adjustment along the ways just to make sure that you stay relevant in your career. Because the moment you're not relevant, especially with AI, you become redundant. And once you're redundant in a company, you're going to be shown the way out of the organization. So you don't want to have that. So the best way is for you to keep on being flexible in your career.
Yeah, so a plan should be adjustable. All right, moving on to another question for Dr. Joan. So the question from Kevin from YouTube is, what's the best advice for an organization that's just starting to change to new tech?
Well, one thing I would say is what is your goal for the use of the tech? I mean, just because you've got technology doesn't mean it's the right one to use. And how are you going to use that tech? And what kinds of aspects are you going to use it for? Because, as I said earlier, just because you have it doesn't mean that it's the best way to move whatever your goal is, or your product or your philosophy through. And is it something, your technology going to be something that you're going to want everybody to know how to use and manage? So again, I'm going to go back to saying, what is the needs assessment? What is it that you want it to do? And how are you going to make sure that your stakeholders, your employees, all understand the benefit of that particular tool? So I would say moving those things forward would have to come from the answers to those questions. Just because having technology is not just about moving your company forward. It's about making sure that the people who are doing the work can actively be productive and that they're meeting their tech goals. If you've got a quota that they've got to meet, is this technology going to help them meet it? So there are some questions that I have before I can really answer that question, because again, is your technology the right technology? And if not, then what are your other alternatives? if you don't use it? Is paper and pencil really going to be the best thing for you? It is, whatever kind of tech tool, is it going to be better that you just use a learning management system as opposed to a full-fledged AI or a Python system based, or what? I mean, you've got to figure out how you're going to use that tech, the benefit of the tech, and the purpose of the tech before you can even move forward. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but those are the things that I would look at before moving through.
Yeah, so depending on what tech is needed for, that is the strategy, or that's the technology that we're going to use.
Correct. That's how I would think so, because, and again, I'm sorry, I'm not really all that tech savvy, but for example, I know that Python and AI can do thousands of things, but just because I need it to, all I might need to use it for, I might be a secretary. All I might need to use it for is to send out email blast, right? So are you going to invest in all this money on this big idea of a technology base, and all I'm going to use is just a little small fraction? Is that worth the financial obligation you've just put onto this technology for my little small piece? And so you got to look at the cost benefit analysis about what your technology is really doing for the systems and the operations of your company. And again, you got to go through training. We talked about mentoring here 500 times. How are you going to get these people to be trained on the tool? Is it going to be cost effective to train them? And people are going through generational change. We talked about how people got to move through change. Is this going to freak people out, or is it going to take my older people in my company longer to learn this? How much longer? How long am I going to give them to pick up this tool? Who's going to mentor them? Is it going to be a situation where you're spending a lot of time, energy, and money on getting people to get up to speed, as opposed to having a workforce that's already at that capacity? So there are a lot of things that you've got to think about in this dynamic of this question, that need to pose whether or not how it's going to be used, and whether or not it's going to be a great tool for you to master.
Thank you very much. Speaking of technology, our next question for Anthony, actually, about the technology. So a question from Wayne. The question is, how do we ensure data protection when using technology for the student learning?
I think you'd have to do a little research on the specific software you might be using, or whatever method you're using. Have some reasonable, not suspicion, but like with auditors, we always say trust but verify. Do a little. I think you have to do a little research, because there's different scams out there. Whenever something becomes popular, it draws the people in that want to take advantage of others, possibly. So do your research, ask around. What are others doing? What do they trust? And do a little research about what you're using. And use your instincts. If something doesn't seem right, or questionable, and then step back and ask around about it, or research a little more. Just don't follow blindly or go too far with something with a certain software or technique if something doesn't seem right.
Yeah, definitely security is a big issue right now, especially with the rise of cybersecurity threats and so on. So, another question, moving on to a question for Shawn. So the question from Isaac from LinkedIn is, what is the first step a branch take to enable the shared customer experience?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
What is the first step for a brand, for a company, that they need to take to enable shared customer experience?
I think probably doing a little bit of intake. I think your brand is. I actually agree with a lot of what Tony was saying. I'm from that generation, from his generation, somewhat too, and I certainly believe, as much as we love to give a lot of relevance to all the technology that we have today. I think I'm very old school in the sense of you don't replace tried and true, which is the people aspect, the human aspect. I think that's always going to be. I'm from that old school of that's always should be put forward, and I think the best way to kind of push your brand forward is it's important to integrate, to implement and integrate and rely on technology. I think it's even more important to implement and rely even more heavily on people and what people have to say about you and your brand, and to do some type of intake and providing really great customer service, and also taking a lot of inventory if you're getting not positive feedback from your customers, and being willing to receive that, embrace that, and adapt and pivot if you need to, because ultimately it's about the impact that your brand, your product, or whatever, your merchandise or whatever has on people, because that's your customer base, right? So I think it's really important to weigh and consider what your customer base has to say about your brand, and adapt and make whatever fluctuations that you need to do to improve upon that, and be open to what people have to say, and recognize that it's not personal. Maybe there are things, and also kind of don't create a vacuum of people who are on your team, for your branding team, of what they have to say. Be willing to hear dissenting and opposite opinions about something. If you surround yourself by yes people all the time, or people who are telling you how fabulous your brand is or your product is, and you're not being open and being willing and receptive to hearing what the opposite might be, then when you finally do put your brand out there and you're not hearing something that you thought was really great about it, you're not going to be able to adjust and to pivot accordingly, because like Tony was saying, things are skewed. So I think it's really important to hear positive things, but I sometimes think it's also to hear actual feedback of things that may not be so good about your brand or your product and your marketability, so that you're able to kind of to fix what you need to fix and adjust what you need to adjust.
Yeah, these are some real words. Thank you very much, Ms. Shawn. If there anybody have any questions, you can directly message all of our speakers on their personal data, which will be presented to you at the end of the event. But for now, we will be having some closing remarks by our convener.